Harihi Om. Sai Ram, Vanakkam, Namaskar, Vandanam, Assalamu Alaikum. We looked at solitude, the last time. Today we go on to the, cause and effect, right? Solitude can lead to enlightenment. So we look at this word called enlightenment. Now, in simple terms, what does it mean? In simple terms, it's, I suppose, the state of complete knowledge, the state of self-realization, the state where you realize you don't need anything else. Enlightened, you're enlightened, right? You use enlightenment as a verb, meaning to clear or to remove confusion, right? You see, light is also, a powerful metaphor for spiritual insight. If you have a great revelation about the divinity of the world, then you could say you have been enlightened. For example, the great Acharya, Adi Shankara, who gave us Bhajagovindam. So through Bhajagovindam, you can get enlightenment. Through all the suktas, stotras, all that. But what is enlightenment from a spiritual perspective? Enlightenment can also mean something from a materialistic perspective, right? If you don't understand a mathematical formula or a physics formula or a chemistry formula, and then you get someone who's very good at explaining it to you, you're enlightened with respect to that knowledge, that aspect of knowledge. But what do we mean by spiritual enlightenment? Well, spiritual enlightenment, or otherwise known as spiritual awakening, it's so rich and complex. It's an experience, innately hard to define, if you ask me, innately hard to define, right? But some definitions, for example, are very, specific and narrow. For example, if I say to you, is the complete, and the spiritual enlightenment is the complete dissolution of one's identity as a separate self with no face or no trace of the ego. How many of us can understand that? So this sets the bar. I mean, it is a factual definition, don't get me wrong. It's a factual definition, but it sets the bar for spiritual enlightenment so high, that means that very few people can qualify to be enlightened if we use this definition. So the best thing to do is not to have a rigid definition of what spiritual enlightenment means. What is needed is consistent and persistent tapasya. Tapasya means practice, spiritual practice, one-pointed focus or one-pointed devotion, and of course, unwavering faith. One-pointed devotion, unwavering faith. On that balance, you can get enlightenment. So when I spoke about solitude, I spoke about Buddha, right? So in enlightenment also, I'm going to use the same example. And of course, there are many who's enlightened from being a mere mortal, they've been immortalized as someone with enlightenment. So Buddha was born into a royal family. He was born to a king, Gautama Siddhartha. Seemingly, as a prince, you are destined for a life of luxury and wealth, isn't it? But Buddha himself, ever since in his young age, he made a series of life-changing decisions, which of course set him on a different course of life to become one of the greatest spiritually enlightened teachers. The name Buddha also means one who is awakened. So that's the Buddhi, right? Buddha, Buddha means one who is awakened. See, according to Buddha, right, in his state of enlightenment, he says everything in life is in one way or another a form of suffering. Birth is suffering, life is suffering, and then death is also suffering. Happiness can also give you suffering. Sadness can also give you suffering, owing to their state of impermanence. So he said enlightenment is realizing that everything is impermanent and moving to that one permanent state. See, Buddha also said that there is a cause and effect theory, karma theory, right? Buddha spoke about it. He said there is a cause behind all types of suffering. And where there is a cause, there is also a remedy, a way to go beyond. That remedy is what he terms as enlightenment. So it's very, very, very relevant for us, right? And he says it's very easy to become enlightened, Buddha says, provided you follow the, from a Buddhist perspective, the noble eightfold path, the Dharma Chakra. These 8 simple steps will gradually help to bring the individual life into alignment with the Dharma Chakra, the wheel of life, and pave the way for spiritual development through effort, through self-observation, and through self-correction, he says. So what are the 8? He says, right view. In everything you see, start looking at it from a right view, right action, dharma, right aim, right speech, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, and right attention, 8. Okay, right view, right aims, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right attention, and right concentration. Practice these, and Buddha says you will surely experience and gain enlightenment. Swami has said many times, right? He said, enlightenment will come after confusion passes. So enlightenment is always preceded by confusion, right? And what is Lao Tzu? Lao Tzu is the one who is behind Taoism. He says, knowing others is wisdom, but knowing yourself is enlightenment, self-realization, right? Very, 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 very poignant. And Shankara says, you are the universe. You are the universe expressing yourself as a human, but for a little while. So why do you get latched on to being human on a permanent basis? Become enlightened. Realize that you are a spiritual being on a human journey, not a human being on a spiritual journey. Until I see you next week, stay blessed.